Thank you for staying with us. The Committee on Local Government Autonomy, established by the federal government, has concluded its meetings and signed a technical document that is expected to be transmitted to President Bola Tinubu. Recall that the Supreme Court delivered a landmark judgment granting autonomy to the 774 local government areas in Nigeria. Now, this ruling allows local governments to manage their finances independently and to make decisions and take actions without needing approval from state governments. The judgment also mandates that funds allocated to local government councils should be paid directly to them, rather than being controlled by state governments. This move is anticipated to reduce political interference, promote local autonomy, and enhance grassroots development. While some governors have expressed dissatisfaction with the judgment, others view it as a breakthrough towards true federalism and grassroots development. Well, joining us via Zoom for this conversation is a business attorney and lead partner at ENC Legal, Omori Edogiawere. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Great. Now, from your perspective, how significant is this move, talking about the signing of this document?
Well, I struggle to celebrate something that should be the norm. I would only say that, okay, yes, an anomaly is being corrected because what we previously saw was more of an anomaly than the norm. The norm should have been that right from day one, each level of government ought to have received their allocation without any issue. But well, it's good that we're walking back to the right thing, and the Supreme Court has put parties back on track. So in that light, yes, I'm happy that the right thing is now again being done, and I do hope that it is never we never go back to a situation where we have a repeat situation.
Well, it may have come in late, but better late than never, as they say. But to what extent will this signing enforce, the implementation of the minimum wage, considering the fact that some states remain silent on this? States like Zamfara, Nasarawa are yet to talk about their plans. So this agreement, how is it going to enforce the payments, looking at the NLC deadline of December 1?
Well, let's be very clear. Let's be very clear on this. This agreement really is an administrative back-end thing. The court of the land, the apex court of the land, has reached a decision, and it is that decision that is binding. And the states do not have a choice. They do not have a choice in the scheme of things. So it isn't even as if they have a say in the matter. The courts have decided that local governments should receive directly from the FARC accounts, and that their autonomy is sacrosanct. Whether they like it or not, they are bound by that decision, and it is not appealable. So it isn't one that is subject to further legal scrutiny. The agreement is only an administrative approach to ensure that the decision of the Supreme Court is given full traction and full effect, and to ensure that all the parties involved are in sync with the implementation of that decision. So if states choose to keep quiet, they'll be running foul of the decision of the court. And the court went further, even beyond entrenching once again the autonomy of the local government. The court went further to say that any state that does not have a democratically elected local government authority should not receive, the local government should not receive allocations. So the implication of that is that if you do not do the right thing, your allocations will be withheld until you do the right thing. And if you recall, after that judgment in June, a lot of the states went into a frenzy to hold local government elections and to ensure that they were in sync with the decision of the Supreme Court. So if other states chose not to do that, I think it would be their loss.
Interesting. Amari, let's look at this a little closer. We saw local government elections conducted in some states in recent times, and the way and manner it went, especially parties that are supported by the governor, sweeping the whole seats and, just taking the day. And there are those asking the question, this matter of local government autonomy, are we really, really going to see it happen? Because it seems that some governors are being smart by half with the way they are going with this matter. Can we still say that those elections or the people elected were democratically elected into office?
So you see, what has happened is when you allow the wrong thing first time, it takes over the entire system. I recall that in 1999, you had a decentralized system where the governor could be from one party and, local government chairmen would come from different parties, and there was a fine mixture. And then suddenly we started seeing, a system where the party in power takes all the seats. And local government chairmen were now deemed or seen as, appendages of the state government. And that was not the intendment of the law. It's not the intendment of the Constitution. Democracy ought to water down neatly, right? But what we have seen is that, and if you recall, at the time when a lot of these positions were decentralized across different parties, I think INEC was at the saddle of, spearheading all the elections. And then suddenly you had these state independent, electoral commissions. And then suddenly, you had the situation where states were one party arrangements, and it's typically the political party of the governor, of the state government that wins, all the seats. This puts a serious clog in the wheel of, checks and balances, in the wheel of democracy and the democratic system, right? But that's the politics of it, so it's one thing to talk law, it's another thing to talk the politics of the situation. That's the politics of it, right? What has happened over the last 10 years, at the very least, is that the state governments and governors have made local governments an appendage of their offices, and determining who goes in there and on what happens. And then, the state governments give them, revenues from their own pockets. So you receive from federal government, from the local government, warehouse it, and then give the local government as you deem fit based on your internal arrangements. But what the law is saying is that the local government should receive their allocations directly, just the same way the states are receiving their allocations. But let's now look at, is the local government even fit, even ready for that level of independence, right? Where they've been subjugated, and I use that word in want of better language, right, for so long. Is it now, going to be a walk in the park to get them to now assert that authority? That's another issue. And even the recent elections that we have seen, landslide victories across. So you cannot wish away that the interference, right? You cannot wish away the involvement of the state government. But I would say that that may appear to be, an off-the-cuff approach to continue to be, have your hand on the lead in one way or the other. But that's the politics of it. The law of it is that the local government should receive their allocations. Whether they are independent or not, right, is what we would see as things happen, as things progress. We're looking that by November, they will receive the first allocation, right? The committee they've signed. The president is expected to receive the document. So what happens from November when they receive the full allocation? Right. Then we will begin to, everything we say here now is, we're still on guessing. When they receive the allocations directly and they start applying, then we can now look at it from a practical and experiential perspective, how well they have fared.
Absolutely, because a lot of persons are waiting with bated breath to see how local governments will handle the allocations given to them, stemming from stories of the past on how they managed resources and all of it. But the matter of separating politics and the law, are we saying that the law cannot override the politics of things with regards to the matter of this autonomy as it is? And that's on the one hand. The other question is the local government, from your perspective, are the local governments prepared to really be autonomous as it is?
So I will tell you something, right? He who pays the piper will continue to dictate the tune. The state governments are in charge of the local government elections through their independent state independent CX, state independent electoral commissions, right? And I'm not sure how independent the word independent is in that acronym, right? But the point really is that in a democratic system, you really cannot separate politics from the scheme of things, even in the application of law, even in giving effect to statutory or judicial pronouncements, right? Now, what we can do is, as we begin to see the fallout of this allocation, right? As we begin to see the fallout of the implementation of this autonomy, because really it's not even about the allocation alone, it is about the autonomy. The fact that the local government chairman can decide, what he feels will be the best fit for his local government within the ambits of the constitutional provisions on the residual list, right? Those are the things that are even very fundamental. Because you see, the intendment of the law is to say the local government is within the pulse of the citizen, is the closest level of government to you and I. We all live in the local government. Nobody lives in the state government. We all live in the local government. And if you take it down to the councillorship ward, right? And so the intendment is that we should receive the first line of the dividends of democracy through the local governments. Things as basic as street lights, things as basic as ensuring that the markets are safe and decent enough for us to purchase things from. Things as basic as small community security arrangements, right? Things as basic as inner street roads, ensuring that potholes are fixed and stuff like that are done, right? Parks are maintained, and the likes. So those are the key things that this autonomy is expected to achieve. Whether or not they will do that or wait for approval from the state government, time will only tell. Now, when you also look at whether they are prepared, right, for the autonomy that is coming to them, the issue is, you see, when you've subjugated people for so long, right, when you put them in a particular situation, it takes a bit of a shock awakening for them to sit back up and get back into the saddle. And I think that we will need to give it a few months, for a lot of these chairmen, a lot of the systems to become aware that they are really not answerable, so to speak, to the state governors, but rather they owe their allegiance to the Constitution, their authority. And these governors are pushing grip on the law. At the end of the day, let's be very clear. It all comes down to politics. It all comes down to the next elections.
there is any to
But there are also checks and balances. And the ICPC, it goes down to local government. Now put themselves up. Times that many where they govern. Those are some of the things that must be areas. Of them. Themselves forward. How the local government must not be seen as a because it's at the center. Governor just picks and push them and
right?